Right, we want to bring in our political panel now, and today I'm joined by South Australian Labor MP for Boothby, Louise Miller-Frost. Welcome back, Louise.
Hello, Greg.
And Independent MP for the Sydney seat of Fowler, Di Lee. Same to you.
Thanks.
Di, what's your outlook on this, Di? Is it simply a function? I know in the federal parliament we seem to always revert to debate about money. Is it a function of funding and money, or are there performance issues involved in the education system?
Look, I think it's probably both. I'm just sitting here reflecting because obviously from my electorate perspective, we're a high proportion of non-English speaking, having the basic skills, basic reading and mathematics is very, very important for my community. Is NAPLAN, does it need to be revamped? Does it have to look at other ways of testing as well, taking into consideration how much technology has played a role in the lives of our young kids nowadays? And has that interrupted their studies, their way of engagement with textbooks, writing? So I think...
So you mean introducing more technology into the testing process itself?
Well, I think, no, that when you're testing NAPLAN for basic writing, reading skills and mathematics, young people are nowadays spending less time reading books. They're mainly on the phones. And so, therefore, how do you engage them to go back to the traditional method of reading and writing and studying, right? So, so are we testing kids today that kids are no longer not learning the traditional way that we used to learn? So, therefore, it might show a weakness in some of those basic skills. So that's one. But also you need to take the circumstances of the environment where the kids are learning as well. Do they have other things to worry about at home? So therefore it's hard for them to focus on their studies when they come to school. So there's other factors that needs to be taken into consideration.
Yeah. Once you start falling behind, we're not helping them catch up.
Can I just add quickly? I mean, I think in this budget, I don't believe there was a lot of money, somebody mentioned to me, that was allocated to education. Considering it's a Labor government, that the money wasn't there for education. So that is, you would ask why.
Yes,
well, the Better and Fairer Schools Agreement is exactly about that.
An outstanding bit of work which was kind of embedded in the budget but not finalised by Jason Clare at that time. I guess that's what he would tell us if he were here. Why don't we go to gambling advertising, and I'll start with you on this one. I think we're picking up pretty strong signals from senior government ministers that they're going to stop short of a complete outright ban on advertising. How does that sit with you?
Look, I think the crossbench and myself, part of the crossbench, we went and spoke about it to the media a few days ago, asking for a total ban in terms of gambling advertising, because so many people are now having a device on our hands, so especially young people as well. Actually, there was a group of students from my electorate yesterday when I said to them, I was talking about gambling advertising, and they said, oh, it should be banned. These are young kids, year 5, year 6. They said it should be banned because they're telling me in terms of the issues it's having on their families. So that was quite interesting.
You used to work in the media. What do you make of these arguments that say the financial well-being of broadcast networks, particularly free-to-air in the regions, needs to be factored into this decision?
Well, I think that, broadcasters shouldn't just rely on gambling ads to survive. I'm sure there are other financial models that could enable media broadcasters to survive. So I think that, watching television and especially when there's a sports on or whatever, every time there's a sports bet thing coming up, it's just really annoying. Now, for somebody like myself, you think, well, I'm not going to,
act on that.
But then there are so many vulnerable people in my community who might just go for it.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
That decision is outstanding. We'll wait for that. Maybe next week. We'll see. I thank you for your candour on that, Louise. Look, a quick one, because you both sat through question time as the Coalition came up with question after question about the granting of visitor visas for Palestinians. They seem to suggest in asking these questions that they're onto something here, some security risk perhaps. Do you have any questions about that?
Oh, look, I was really surprised, given Mike Burgess, the head of ASIO's interview on Insiders on the weekend, that they would go down such a path. I mean, he talked very clearly about the importance of social cohesion. I think Minister Tony Burke was very clear that ASIO does these assessments the same way ASIO has always done these assessments. No one gets in without that assessment. The safety of Australia and Australians is the absolute paramount factor. And, you know, I think one of the questions he was asked was how many people had been turned away from there, and his answers was something like 2,000 people had been let in, 7,000 rejected. So, you know, I think we have to trust that ASIO is doing the right thing, and I would rather they do the assessments than the Liberal Party.
Well, that was the point coming across loud and clear from the government side.
Absolutely. Look, I think being a former refugee, I remember at the time when we escaped and we were in refugee camps, there was a lot of processing, and that's why I think the processing was very important to make sure that it's who you're letting into this country are genuine refugees. So I know, having been processed, that Australia has a very rigorous processing system to ensure that, you know, back in those days when we escaped, people were saying, oh, you're not letting in communists, are you? And actual genuine Vietnamese refugees who's fleeing from communism. So I understand that fear that sometimes some of those could slip through. So, but, you know, with ASIO being involved, let's make sure that the security is paramount to anybody entering Australia.
Sounds like
and now you're in Parliament.
Yeah, well, a personal vote of confidence and a dual vote of confidence coming from both of you in the processes and that which is done by our security agencies. We'll wrap it up there. Louise Miller-Frost, Diley, thanks as always. Well.